back and forth yesterday between Mark McGowan and Peter Dutton and the Prime Minister. Mark McGowan's been quite vocal in his criticism of Mr Dutton's rhetoric on China. The Prime Minister's response to that was that Mark McGowan's not in charge of foreign policy. Is Mark McGowan and state premiers people you would be looking to in regards to the relationship with China if you are elected?
Well, I do note that Peter Dutton's rhetoric is very different from his own government's rhetoric. It's very different from Marise Payne, is in charge of foreign policy in the government. She's the foreign minister. Her rhetoric is very different from Peter Dutton. What we see going on here, we've seen it for some period of time. You notice the really subtle thing about you can't be leader if you haven't been treasurer. When Josh Frydenberg's sitting behind the Prime Minister, there is tension within the Liberal Party. It is being played out day after day. There's tension within the National Party whereby people are doing the numbers whether they win or not over who is either Deputy Prime Minister or leader of the National Party, depending upon the seats and the outcomes. And the Liberals and the Nationals don't like each other.
Would you be talking to state premiers regarding the relationship with China? Are they people you would be looking to?
Well, the Australian government is in charge of our national policy. But I'll be engaging in a constructive way with business, with state premiers, with civil society about our relationships. Mark McGowan is doing a great job as the WA Premier. I stand with Mark McGowan. Scott Morrison stands with Clive Palmer.
Mr Albanese. Just while we're here in the Northern Territory, Scott Morrison has said that it's not his government's policy to implement the Uluru Statement from the Heart. He says his government is focusing on listening to local voices rather than a kind of symbolic national voice. Ken Wyatt has also said that he talks to Indigenous communities and they're more concerned with things like housing and health. Do you agree with Ken Wyatt's assessment of this, and what would you call on the government to do when it comes to the Uluru Statement from the Heart?
The only voice that Scott Morrison wants to hear is his own. It's not surprising that he's ruled out a voice to Parliament because the only voice Scott Morrison ever wants to hear is his own. That's why even in the Parliament he shuts down other voices. So it's not surprising, given he won't have any debates in the Parliament, that he doesn't want a voice to Parliament. This is a generous offer from First Nations people. First Nations people are just asking to be consulted on issues that affect their lives, on health, on education, on housing, on those issues. It is a generous handout from First Nations people. And what they are asking for is a partner, is just a joining of hands in our common interests. This is the same political party that said if we apologise to the stolen generations, it would be divisive. Peter Dutton walked out of that apology. Shame. And what we need to do is to bring this country together. Just wait. We're a strong country, but we'll be even stronger, more cohesive and more proud if we do this, if we recognise that our history didn't begin in 1788. It's 65,000 years of the oldest continuous civilisation on the planet. We should be celebrating that. That is such a national asset for us.